abandoned humanity. Now it's time for revenge. In the distant future, humanity's hope rested on the shoulders of the elite, the brightest minds and wealthiest figures who promised salvation as the planet crumbled under ecological collapse. They constructed massive arks, advanced ships capable of sustaining life beyond Earth's decaying surface. But when the day came to board, billions were left behind as the arks ascended into the skies, leaving the ordinary, the poor, and the vulnerable to die on a suffocating planet. Decades passed, and the abandoned survivors, left to fend for themselves, refused to go quietly into extinction. They adapted, evolved, and thrived in ways the elites never anticipated. Harnessing forgotten technology and using sheer determination, they transformed the wastelands into strongholds. They developed new forms of energy, weaponry, and even biologically enhanced themselves to withstand the harsh environment. Among the survivors rose a leader, Leora Kane, a young girl left orphaned in the chaos of abandonment. She grew up with the scars of betrayal but also with an unyielding resolve to claim justice for humanity. Under her leadership, the survivors developed Phoenix, an enormous, weaponized vessel capable of traversing space. It was more than a ship, it was a symbol of vengeance and survival. Years later, as the Ark's coordinates were finally decoded, the survivors learned the elites had settled on a lush, resource-rich planet named Eden. Eden's utopia came at a cost. Their survival depended on exploiting resources harvested from Earth's remnants, a cruel reminder of their betrayal. Phoenix launched into the stars, its mission clear: to confront the elites, reclaim what was stolen, and ensure the voices of the abandoned were heard. As the Phoenix approached Eden, Leora broadcast a message that echoed through the elite's pristine cities. You left us to die. You thrived on our suffering. Now, we take back what's ours. What followed was a battle of epic proportions, a clash between the technologically advanced elites and the hardened resilience of Earth's survivors. It wasn't just a fight for revenge, it was a fight to restore humanity's dignity, to show that even in the face of abandonment, the spirit of those left behind could never be extinguished. When the dust settled, Eden stood transformed. No longer a haven for the privileged, it became a home where all humanity could rebuild together, guided by the lessons of betrayal and the unyielding power of justice. Chapter 2, A Glimpse of Eden. The Phoenix tore through the void of space, its sleek hull cloaked in adaptive stealth plating. Leora stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the holographic projection of Eden spinning before her. The planet was a vision of paradise, rolling green hills, crystal-clear oceans, and golden cities that shimmered like jewels under the twin suns. But to Leora and her crew, it was a mocking testament to the elite's selfishness. The ship's AI, a construct named Oracle, broke the silence. Eden's orbital defenses are formidable, Commander Kane. Analysis indicates multiple automated turrets and a shield network powered by geosynchronous satellites. Direct assault is not advisable. Leora's second-in-command, a grizzled veteran named Dax, smirked. Good thing we're not here for a fair fight. Let's show them what survival under pressure really means. Activate Shatterstrike Protocol, Leora ordered. The Shatterstrike was the survivors' secret weapon. Over the years, Earth's remnants had mastered hacking into the elite's technology, while the Phoenix remained hidden in Eden's shadow. A swarm of drone pods detached from its underbelly, each carrying sophisticated infiltration programs. Within minutes, the orbital defenses began to malfunction. Satellites dimmed, turrets powered down, and Eden's once impenetrable shield faltered. Shields are offline, Commander, Oracle confirmed. Leora clenched her fists. Good, take us in. The Phoenix descended into Eden's atmosphere, its engines roaring like a vengeful storm. Below, panic erupted as the elites scrambled to mobilize their forces. It was the first time in decades they'd faced a threat from outside their pristine world. The city of Halcyon Prime lay directly beneath the Phoenix's trajectory. Leora's target was the central governance hub, a towering spire that symbolized everything the elites had built atop humanity's suffering. As the Phoenix hovered over the city, its shadow casting darkness over the golden streets, Leora broadcast her ultimatum. To the leaders of Eden, her voice boomed, amplified through every communication channel on the planet. This is your reckoning. You abandoned us to die on a broken earth, but we survived, and now, we have come to collect the debt you owe to humanity. Surrender your leadership, or we will take it by force. The response was swift. Eden's fleet, a collection of sleek, state-of-the-art warships, rose into the skies to meet the Phoenix, but the survivors were ready. The Phoenix unleashed its countermeasures, disruptive EMP waves and devastating plasma cannons that tore through the elite vessels with ruthless efficiency. On the ground, strike teams led by Dax infiltrated the city. These soldiers were hardened by Earth's unrelenting cruelty, their enhanced bodies and minds making them nearly unstoppable. Their mission was clear: take the Spire, dismantle the elite government, and secure Eden for all. Inside the Spire, the Elite Council, a group of well-dressed but terrified figures, huddled in their chamber. One of them, a defiant man named Corvus Legron, sneered, "You think you can take what we've built? We left you behind for a reason. You were weak, unworthy." Leora's voice cut through his tirade as she entered the room, her boots echoing on the marble floor. "And yet here I stand, while you cower. The time for words is over." With a single gesture, her soldiers restrained the council members. Leora stepped closer to Corvus, her eyes burning with determination. "Weakness isn't in surviving the impossible, it's in abandoning your people when they need you most. You will answer for what you've done." As Eden's leadership fell, the survivors seized control of the planet's infrastructure, but Leora knew their fight wasn't just against the elites, it was against the mindset that had allowed such betrayal to happen in the first place. In a broadcast to all of Eden, Leora declared, "Today marks the end of division. We will build a world where no one is left behind, a world where humanity thrives together, not at the expense of others." The survivors had claimed their revenge, but more importantly, they had reclaimed hope, and under Leora's leadership, they would ensure that Eden became the home humanity had always deserved. Chapter 3, Rebuilding Humanity. The battle for Eden was won, but the real work had just begun. The survivors, once a fragmented and resourceful group, were now the rulers of an entire world. Their victory, though hard-fought, was only the beginning of the long road to rebuilding civilization. As Leora Kane looked out over the newly reclaimed capital, Halcyon Prime, she knew that the true challenge would be forging a new society, one where the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. In the days that followed, the Elite Council's members were taken into custody, their power stripped away, and their wealth redistributed to the people. But Leora's vision was not one of vengeance, it was one of justice. She didn't want the survivors to become like those they had overthrown, to become consumed by the same thirst for control that had caused humanity's fall in the first place. The first steps were to establish a council made up of representatives from both the survivors and the people of Eden. The wounds between the two groups were still raw, and trust had to be rebuilt. Leora worked tirelessly to ensure that the voices of every citizen, no matter their background, were heard. She knew that this was the only way to prevent history from repeating itself. "We have one chance," Leora said during the first joint session of the new council. "If we fail to build something stronger than what we had before, we risk falling into the same traps, the same cycles of greed and abandonment. Our differences are what make us strong. If we can unite under a common cause, nothing can stand against us." The survivors, many of whom had never seen the luxury of a world like Eden, were tasked with teaching their new allies what it meant to survive, to be resourceful, to live with the knowledge that tomorrow was never guaranteed. The people of Eden, for their part, offered their technological expertise, their knowledge of agriculture, and their mastery of the arts that flourished in their perfect world. However, tensions were high. There were still those who clung to the old ways, who saw the new government as an uprising, not a revolution. They whispered of rebellion in the streets of Halcyon Prime, questioning whether the survivors were truly fit to govern. But Leora knew that the people were watching, and their faith in her was her strength. One such day, Leora stood before the crowds at the Central Plaza, where the first joint celebration of the new world was being held. She could feel the weight of the eyes upon her, some hopeful, some doubtful, some angry. Her words had to carry more than just promises, they had to inspire. "This is not the end," she began, her voice clear and unwavering. "This is the beginning. We faced darkness, and now we stand together in the light. We may have come from different worlds, but our future is one, a future where no one is abandoned, a future where we are all equal." The applause was hesitant at first, but it grew stronger as her words sunk in. The survivors were beginning to believe that they could build something lasting. Eden had become more than just a paradise for the elite, it had become a canvas upon which the future of all humanity would be painted. Chapter 4, The Seeds of a New Dawn. Months passed, and the integration of Eden's technology with the survivors' ingenuity began to bear fruit. Earth's cities, once reduced to ruins, were reborn. The survivors had built homes and farms that thrived under the warm glow of Eden's suns, drawing on both old-world techniques and new innovations from the Edenites. But Leora knew there would always be threats, even from within. There were whispers of discontent among certain factions, especially those who had once been part of the elite. Some saw the redistribution of power as a loss, not a victory, and they would stop at nothing to regain their hold. To Leora, the greatest danger was not external, it was the erosion of unity. One evening, while walking through a newly rebuilt district of Halcyon Prime, Leora encountered a group of Edenite citizens who had once been loyal to the old council. Their faces were filled with defiance, a reminder of the arrogance and entitlement she had once fought against. "We want the old ways back," one of them spat. "The survivors have no right to lead us. You're nothing but scavengers, living off what we built." Leora's eyes narrowed. "You think I don't understand your pain? I was left behind, just like you, but we've come too far to let hatred destroy what we've built. We are not scavengers, we are the future, and that future belongs to all of us, not just a few." Her voice was steady, but the weight of the confrontation hung in the air like a storm. The group of dissenters didn't respond immediately, but their eyes softened just a fraction. It wasn't agreement, but it was something, a crack in their resolve. Leora knew that her leadership wouldn't be accepted by everyone overnight, but every day they moved forward, they were one step closer to true unity. Chapter 5, The Final Trial. As Eden flourished, an unexpected challenge arose from the very stars themselves. A fleet of ships, bearing unfamiliar markings, appeared in Eden's orbit. Their origins were unknown, their intentions unclear. Were they survivors from another forgotten corner of the galaxy, or was it something darker, something even more dangerous than the elites they had overthrown? Leora stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, once again ready for battle, but this time, it wasn't just about revenge, it was about preserving everything they had fought for, everything they had rebuilt. "We don't know who they are," Dax said, his voice grave, "but I'd say we've made more than a few enemies since we took Eden." Leora met his gaze, her resolve unshaken. "Then let's make sure they understand one thing, Eden is not for the taking, we fight for our future, together." The survivors had endured so much, faced betrayal, loss, and unimaginable odds, but the trials of the past had prepared them for this moment. They had built a world not just to survive, but to thrive, and no one, no matter where they came from, was going to take that away. With one final, unspoken command, the Phoenix's engines roared to life once more. The fight for Eden was far from over, but Leora Kane knew one thing with certainty: humanity had finally found its strength, and this time, they would never be abandoned again.